Hi, good day to you. This video are going to continue to explain to you Clause 8.1 to Clause 8.4. Clause 8.1 Operational Planning and Control. The organization shall plan, implement and control the processes needed to meet the requirements for the provision of products and services and to implement the necessary actions required. Planning is very important for every processes. Remember the model PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act? Whenever we implement any of the processes, planning is the first stage. We must plan for the processes. First, we need to determine the requirements for the products and services. As the process personnel, you need to know what kind of products and services that you provide to your customer. What is the specification? What is the criteria? What is the spatial and value-added services about the products and services that you can offer to your customer? You must be very clear about this. And the next, you need to establish the criteria for the processes and the acceptance of products and services. For the products and services that you offer to your customer, how are you going to control the criteria of the products and services? Whether the products and services is able to fulfill to your customer requirements. Does the products and services that you offer to your customer is able to solve the problems and provide the solution to your customer? And of course, you need to determine the resources needed to achieve the conformity for the products and services. The manpower required, the machinery, the utilities, and the equipment required for the processes. And lastly, how are you going to implement the control to ensure the conformity of your product and services? Do you carry out inspection? Do you carry out testing? Do you carry out checking or verification required to make sure that your product and services you provided is able to fulfill the customer requirements and solve their problems? All these as planned must be maintained and retained in documented information. This is to make sure that your customer have confidence for you that the process have been carried out as planned, and the evidence, the documented information is able to demonstrate the conformity of product and services to their requirements. Besides, we need to control any planned changes might be happen. If there are any changes happen, what is the channel, what is the methodology shall be applied to communicate the changes, to control the changes within the process. This is all within the planning processes. We have to plan all this mentioned before we officially execute and implement the processes. And of course, last but not least, you need to cover as well if there are any outsourced process are required. When there are any outsourced processes are required, when there are any subcontractor or main contractor are engaged, you need to plan how are you going to control their performance, how are you going to select the best and the most suitable contractor to perform the job. Clause 8.2 Requirements for products and services. The first subclauses 8.2.1, which is customer communication. Communication with customer is very important for them to know well about our products and services. We need to establish communication channel, media and marketing tools for them to know about our products and services, such as our website, product catalog, flyers and more. And don't forget to bring your name card to show to your customer. The customer communication including the handling of the enquiries, how the customer inquire the product information through calling, request for quotations, emailing and etc. If they are going to place the order, how they are going to confirm the order through the contract, quotation, purchase order, job order. And if there are any changes, how the customer communicate with you regarding the changes. All this must be established in your procedure. Besides, if there are any customer feedbacks or customer complaint, how the customer convey the message to you through the customer feedback form, customer complaint form, or through your company website or any Google form that can send through to you their feedback. If throughout the product and service provision, this is required the customer to give you their property or material, how are you going to handle and control their material and property to ensure that the final product and final services that you deliver to them is able to fulfill their requirements? And don't forget to establish a specific requirement for contingency actions when relevant. For example, if you cannot deliver the product and services on time, what is the contingency plan? If your personnel is not around during the training or during the product demonstration when the appointment is met, any contingency plan from your side? All these mentioned customer communication information shall be established and documented, and this should be available to the customer when required at any time. Subclauses 8.2.2 Determining the requirements for products and services. Define the requirements for the products and services, including any applicable statutory and regulatory requirements and others considered necessary by the organization. When the customer inquired your product and services, how are you going to determine the customer requirements? Definitely, calling is very important. Through calling, through communication, you are able to understand what actually the customer needs. Then only you can propose to them the product or services that can really solve their problems. And of course, not just through verbal. Everything must be documented. You can provide them the contract, you can provide them the quotations to details the information of product and services that you provided and able to fulfill their requirements. Besides the information about the product and services in your quotations or contract, don't forget also jot down your delivery lead time and any terms or condition throughout the delivering of the products and services. The organization shall determine whether can meet the claims for the products and services it offers. For example, the warranty period, the after-sales services that you can provide to them, the training for the product deliver, and also any after-sales service consultation you are able to provide after the product and services being delivered. Subclause 8.2.3 Review of the requirements for products and services. When the customer places the order for the products and services, please don't forget to review the order. Whether are you able to fulfill the requirements to deliver the product and services ordered by the customer. The organization shall conduct the review before committing to supply the products and services, including the requirements specific by customer, delivery and post-delivery activity, the requirements not stated by the customer but necessary for specific or intended use when known, requirements specific by the organization, any applicable statutory regulatory requirements, and contract or order requirements differing from those previously expressed. This shall be defined and resolved. Requirements not stated by the customer but necessary for the specific or intended use when known. This means that, like example, when you tapau a nasi lemak, so before the customer requests for the spoon, you will automatically give the spoon together with the tapau nasi lemak. And also, like example, the required accessory that should be come together with the product and services. This is no need the customer purposely specific in the contract, but this should be accommodated together with the product and services delivered. The requirements specific by the organization, such as the lead time, whether the lead time you are able to fulfill as per requested by the customer, or the customer need to follow your lead time, your shipment, your flight traveling intervals. This includes also the terms of payment. Statutory and regulatory information, such as when you are exporting the product or services to the overseas, any of the custom requirements that you need to fulfill. And also, for example, if you are going to produce the product with a very big quantity and this make the capacity of your wastewater increase, are your wastewater treatment plant able to accommodate the capacity of the wastewater? If your wastewater treatment plant is not able to treat the wastewater, this definitely will cause you not comply of the wastewater quality. And of course, if there are any difference within this review process, how are you going to confirm the changes? You can revise the quotation, or you should ask customer to revise their order, which means that we must have the latest confirmed, detailed and clear information about the products and services that ordered by the customer. All this review information shall be written as documented informations, and this shall be communicated to the relevant parties to ensure the products and services are delivered within the customer specification. Subclause 8.2.4 Changes to requirements for product and services. As explained, when there are any changes of requirements for the product and services, these changes might be happen during placing the order, confirmation of the order, during preparation for the product and services, and also after delivering the product and services. The changes can be happen at any time. Therefore, communication on the changes to the relevant party is very important for them to adopt the latest changes. The relevant person are made aware of the change requirements. How are you going to make sure the person aware about the changes? You shall communicate it through the documented information, the amended order, the amended purchase order, email and face-to-face explanation. All these changes shall be documented and circulated to the relevant parties to adopt the latest changes and deliver the product and services based on the latest changes. Clause 8.3 Design and development of products and services. Design and development means that the company, the organization design and develop your own products and services. If you are design and develop the product based on the customer requirements, based on the customer sketching, based on the customer drawing, this is not considered as design and development, and this clause is not applicable. This clause only applicable for indeed the organization design and develop their own products and services. For example, if the customer bring the architect to their house and show around the house, and then the customer explain to the architect what they want, the design, the theme, the color and some idea about their expectations, and afterwards the architect come out the drawing, come out the design based on the customer requirements. This is not considered as 8.3 design and development. This will be under clause 8.5 only. But if the architect engaged by the developer, and the developer are developing a new building, accommodations, condo, apartment, housing area, they are discussing together to come out the housing area itself, this is considered as design and development. For example, furniture manufacturing company. The furniture manufacturing company, they design and develop their own product. After design and develop their own furniture, then they sell to the customer. They can sell this product to any of the customer which prefer their design. Another example, if you are the manufacturer of body soap, body shampoo, hair shampoo, you are involved in design and development. You are going to research and develop the recipe, the formula that contain in your body shampoo, hair shampoo and body soap. However, if your customer give you the recipe, give you the formula and ask you to OEM the body shampoo for them, this is considered into clause 8.5 but not clause 8.3. As conclusion, 8.3 is applicable when you are design and develop your own product and services. And of course, if this clauses is not applicable for you, please remove it. Please exclude it. Subclauses 8.3.1 General. The organization shall establish establish, implement and maintain a design and development process that is appropriate to ensure the subsequent provision of products and services. This means that if this clauses is applicable to you, you need to come up a procedure on the design and development processes. Subclause 8.3.2 Design and Development Planning. And of course, every processes need planning before executions. The same for design and development. In the design and development planning process, you need to know the nature, the duration, the complexity of the design and development activity. The required process stages, including applicable design and development review. This means that once you develop the design, mostly it would not be immediately success. It might be go through a few trial process. This need to be considered in your planning stages. And don't forget, any of the verification and validation needed for your design and development. This you need to plan what kind of the verification and validation methodology needed to verify and validate your product or services. You need to plan as well the responsibility and authority of the personnel involved in the design and development process. How many resources that you require? What is their responsibility and authority? This must be planned. Not just only internal resources, any else external resources. You might need to engage an external designer, you might need to engage an external consultant or any external interested party which is related to the design and development processes. The planning included the needs to control interfaces between persons involved in the design and development processes. The design process are not just involve your design process only. You might need to communicate or interface and interact with other departments or other processes and personnel. For example, the product that you design and develop, you need the testing from the quality control department. And when you are going to develop the product and services, you need to purchase something, you need to purchase the raw material. Definitely, you need to interact with the purchasing department and purchasing personnel. And of course, throughout this design and development process, you might need to involve the customer or user in the review processes. The design might involve different stages and many stages. Every stages after you complete, you need to submit to your customer or the user involved to review the design and development. And throughout the design and development processes, the user and customer might give you the feedback or any of the changes and any of the suggestion improvement required. Afterwards, you will need to adopt the changes and revise the design and development. All this need to consider in your design and development planning. And the next, if the product and services are successfully developed, what are the subsequent requirements to produce the products and services? The information about the product and services developed, definitely you must have a very detailed information, documented information, so that you can pass over to the next relevant processes to produce the products and services. The planning shall consider the level of control expected for the design and development process by customer and other relevant interested party. This means that your customer or other relevant interested party might try run your product and services, might evaluate your product and services, might carry out their own testing on your product and services. Therefore, the procedure of design and development and all the information required for the plannings of design and development shall be documented so that the person involved are following the design and development planning procedure. Subclause 8.3.3 Design and Development Inputs. Now, we are going to start to design and develop the product and services. Definitely, we need the required input information for the design and development of the products and services. The inputs included functional and performance requirements. What is the function and performance of your product and services? Information derived from previous similar design and development activity. And of course, no harm for you to review back the previous design as reference. which can inspire you for this new design and development product and services. Any statutory and regulatory requirements, for example, some of the country is not allowed ROS content, restricted of hazardous substance. Therefore, please make sure your product and services does not contain these ROS contents. Standard or codes of practice that the organization has committed to implement. For example, throughout the design and development process, you are not going to cause the environment pollution, or throughout the process design and development, you are not going to use any animals which cause harmful to the animals for the testing. Potential consequences of failure due to the nature of the products and services. Failure might be encountered throughout the design and development processes. What is the consequences you might need to foresee? Such as, if there are any of the failure happen during the design and development process, would it cause any health issue? Would it cause any safety issue? This is all must be planned and action required to prevent this from happening. Therefore, the inputs for design and development purpose shall be adequate, complete and unambiguous. Any conflict happen throughout the design and development process shall be resolved. All the mentioned design and development input shall be written as documented information. Subclause 8.3.4 Design and Development Control. The organization shall apply controls to the design and development process to ensure that the results to be achieved are defined. The review are conducted to evaluate the ability of the result of design and development to meet the requirements. Definitely, once you produce the products and services, you need to carry out the evaluation or inspections. What is the methodology you plan to use for the inspection and verification? Verification activities are conducted to ensure that the design and development outputs meet the inputs requirements. The validation activity are conducted to ensure that the resulting products and services meet the requirements for the specific application or intended use. This means that you carry out some testing on the product and services that you produce. Example of the validation activity, such as if you are producing the new type of the pen and this pen can last for 20 years, how are you going to prove that this pen can last for 20 years? Definitely, you need the equipment to simulate the conditions of 20 years. Come with the raining, come with the sunny effect and attack the pen conditions. And to prove that this pen can be last for 20 years. And definitely this validation activity no need to carry out for 20 years. With this equipment simulation, you might need 1 week or 2 weeks to simulate the condition of 20 years. This called validation activities. The control including any necessary actions shall be taken on problems determined during the review processes and during the verification and validation activities. The control activities, the verification, the validation, the inspection and any controls required shall be written as documented information. Subclause 8.3.5 Design and Development Outputs. The organization shall ensure that design and development outputs meets the input requirements. Throughout the control activity such as inspection, testing, verification, validation activity, you need to ensure that the outputs fulfill the inputs requirements. The organization need to ensure that the outputs information are adequate for the subsequent processes for the provision of products and services. For example, when you are going to manufacture the product, when you are going to deliver for the product, the information required, the operation manual required, the design, the drawing, the script, the video, all this shall be completed and provided to the relevant party for subsequent processes. The design and development output shall include or reference to monitoring and measuring requirements as appropriate and acceptance criteria. This means that throughout the provision of the product and services, what is the inspection required? What is the verification activity required? What is the validation activity required? All this information shall be communicated to the relevant parties. And don't forget to specify also the characteristic of the product and services that are essential for their intended purpose and their safe and proper provision. Such as any safety precaution control measure are required, any preservation and storage condition are required, any specific environmental for the storage of the products and services. All these outputs shall be retained as documented information. Subclause 8.3.6 Design and Development Changes. As usual, changes can be happen anytime in any processes. The organization shall identify, review and control changes made during or subsequent to the design and development of product and services to the extent as necessary to ensure that there is no adverse impact on conformity to the requirements. The retained documented information included design and development changes, the result of review, the authorization of the changes, and the action taken to prevent adverse impacts. Clause 8.4 Control of externally provided processes, products, and services. Subclause 8.4.1 General. The organization shall ensure that externally provided processes, products, and services conform to the requirements. The organization shall determine the controls to be applied to externally provided processes, products, and services when product and services from external provider are intended for incorporation into the organization's own product and services to the customer on behalf of the organization and are provided as a process or part of the process as a result of a decision by the organizations. This means that there are three types of external provider intended for incorporation into the organization on product and services. This is your supplier, supply of equipment, supply of machinery, supply of material ingredient and anything required to incorporate into your products and services. Second, the products and services are provided directly to the customer by external providers on behalf of the organization. This means the subcontractor, the outsourced process that you provide to your customer. Besides, our process is not fully done by the organization itself. Some part of our processes we need to engage external provider, such as the calibration personnel, the testing laboratory, the training provider. When we are engaging the externally provided processes, products, and services, definitely we need to determine and apply criteria for the evaluation, selection, monitoring of performance, and re-evaluation of external provider based on their ability to provide processes of product and services in accordance with the requirements. This means that you need to select the most suitable external provider to provide the product and services. To ensure this, you need to carry out the external provider selection and evaluations. Then only you approve to engage this external provider to supply the products and services. And of course, throughout the delivery of the product and services by the external provider, you need to evaluate the performance of the external provider, whether the supply, the products and services delivered are according to your requirements, whether their performance are fulfilling your requirements, whether their procedure are able to meet your organization requirements, including whether they can deliver on time, whether they can provide the technical service, whether they can provide the solution, and any value-added service that can meet your criteria. And of course, the products and services delivered must fulfill your specification. All these control activities, inspections, verifications, selection, evaluation, and re-evaluation shall be retained as documented information. If there are any area which does not conform to your requirements, definitely you need to initiate actions to resolve the problems. Subclause 8.4.2 Type and extent of control. The organization shall ensure that externally provided processes, products, and services does not adversely affect the organization's ability to consistently deliver conforming products and services to the customer. The organization shall ensure that the externally provided processes remain within the control of its quality management system. The organization shall always monitor the performance of external provider when they are delivering and when they are executing the job. The controls that is intended to apply to an external provider shall be defined, and this applies also to the resulting outputs. The control activities, inspection, verification shall take into consideration of externally provided processes, products and services that the potential impact on the organization's ability to consistently meet customer and applicable statutory and regulatory requirements. At the same time, the effectiveness of the controls applied by the external provider. Besides, the organization shall determine the verification or other activity necessary to ensure that the externally provided processes, products and services meet the requirements. Let's say you bought a new equipment from the external provider. When you receive the machinery, definitely you need to check on the delivery order. Besides acknowledge on the delivery order for the receiving, definitely you need to verify the functionality and performance of the equipment. For the measuring and monitoring equipment that you bought, you need to verify its accuracy. You need to check on the certificate of quality. You need to check on their certificate of calibrations. Not just only document verification, you might need to use the reference standard to verify the measuring equipment that you bought. For example, you bought a new weighing balance. You need to verify it using a standard weight. If you are outsourced the process to the subcontractor, definitely you have to go to the site and witness how your subcontractor perform the job, whether they are able to perform the job accordingly. Subclause 8.4.3 Information for external provider. Information for external provider shall be completed, details and clear communicated to the external provider to ensure that the products and services delivered are according to your requirements. The information included the processes, products and services to be provided. Any of the approval required for the products and services, the methods, the process and equipment, and the release of products and services. The approval included such as the approval from the authority and statutory bodies, the custom personnel, the medicine personnel, the pharmaceutical personnel, and also any of the signature of the testing personnel, the chemist, the engineer, and the association body, if applicable. If there are any competency required, including qualification, please specify to your external provider, such as you need the IR for engineering drawing approval, and also ISO IEC 17025 for accredited lab. The information for external provider included as well the external provider's interaction with the organizations and the controls and monitoring of the external provider's performance to be applied by the organizations. How do you interact with the external provider? Through the purchase order, through the work order, job order, through the email and any supplements documentation required. Please provide to your external provider as well if there are any supporting document required. For example, the drawing, the video, the certificates. Do inform to your external provider as well how are you going to control and monitor the performance of your external provider. What is your expectation to the external provider? What is your monitoring and performance criteria evaluation? And if there are any verification or validation activity you require to perform at the external provider premises, do inform your external provider in advance, such as supplier audit, testing demonstration witnessing, product preparation witnessings, verification and inspection of material at the external provider premises. We will continue the next clause in the next video. Hope you learned something today. See you!